Imagine you are the CEO of a century-old, multi-billion-dollar media empire. You know, you have a fleet of helicopters, you have global news bureaus in basically every major city.
The whole 9 yards.
Exactly, the whole 9 yards. You have household name anchors who make, what, 8 figures a year? And yet right now, you are currently losing sleep. You're pacing your corner office because a 20-something in a basement with a neon sign and a $100 microphone is completely stealing your audience.
It's wild to think about.
It really is. Welcome to the Deep Dive. We are so thrilled to have you here with us. If you are the kind of person who wants to stay insanely informed, you know, someone who wants to look past that overwhelming barrage of daily headlines and find those crucial aha moments.
Without totally drowning in information overload, right?
Without drown, then you are exactly who we are doing this for. Today, we have a really fascinating mission. We are looking at the massive, frankly, panicked migration of legacy mainstream media companies into the realm of YouTube, podcasts, and digital video.
It is a full-blown scramble.
It is. We're unpacking a highly specific commentary transcript from the YouTube channel Clownfish. It's titled Mainstream Media Pivots, and it really peels back the curtain on this industry-wide freakout. So, okay, let's unpack this. Why are these massive, multi-billion-dollar media empires suddenly trying to act like basement YouTube?
Well, it's the ultimate paradox of modern entertainment and news, honestly. To really get to the bottom of this, our goal today is to look past the surface-level corporate PR strategies.
Right, the press releases about exciting new digital synergies and all that nonsense.
Yeah, exactly, those buzzwords. We need to look past that and understand the deeper structural, technological, and cultural shifts that are driving this absolute boardroom panic.
Yeah.
Because it is panic. We are looking at a desperate attempt to recapture a vanishing audience.
In a landscape where the old rules just don't apply anymore.
Right. This isn't some measured, calculated expansion into a new market. I mean, it's a frantic scramble for literal survival.
And the material we're diving into captures that desperation so perfectly. They use this incredibly visceral analogy. The source describes this legacy media pivot to YouTube as being like trying to get away from an annoying neighbor.
Which is such a great way to frame it.
It really is. Think about it. You finally pack up your boxes. You leave your old crumbling neighborhood behind. Yeah. You move to a brand new town just to get some peace and quiet, to find a fresh start. And then the very next day, you look out your living room window.
And there they are.
Yep. That exact same annoying neighbor is unloading a moving truck right next.
That framing resonates so deeply because for the audience, the internet, and specifically platforms like YouTube in the early days, that was supposed to be the escape. It was the new neighborhood. It was the place you went to get away from the highly packaged, overly sanitized, focus grouped broadcasting of traditional television.
You wanted something real.
Right. You went there for raw, unfiltered connection. And now the very institutions the audience fled are desperately trying to build mansions in that exact same digital backyard.
It's so frustrating for the users, but to understand why this neighbor is so annoying and why they are suddenly so desperate to move into your digital backyard today, we have to look back at the ghost of the... We have to talk about the infamous first pivot to video because, this isn't the first time legacy media has tried to force their way into the digital videos.
No, far from it. If you rewind about a decade, back to, say, the mid-2010, there was this industry-wide mandate across digital publishers, digital magazines, legacy print media. The battle cry in literally every boardroom was pivot to video.
I remember that so clearly. It was everywhere.
It was inescapable. And the atmosphere for traditional journalists at the time was deeply insulting. You had Pulitzer-winning investigative reporters, long-form essayists, seasoned editors. They were essentially told that they were dinosaurs.
Right, that their work didn't matter anymore.
Exactly. The phrase learn to code was constantly thrown around basically as a pejorative. The implication was crystal clear. If you were just a writer, you were completely obsolete. The future was short-form, highly viral video content. So you either had to get in front of a camera, start producing video clips, or pack up your desk.
I remember this era so vividly, and there is one specific historical example that the source brings up, which perfectly encapsulates the sheer absurdity of what those executives actually thought the audience.
A watermelon.
The BuzzFeed watermelon explosion.
It is the absolute peak of weird digital media experimentation.
For anyone who might not remember or who has mercifully blocked it out of their memory, BuzzFeed literally set up a Facebook live stream where 2 employees wearing safety goggles just put rubber bands around a watermelon.
One by one.
One by one. For something like 45 minutes, they just kept adding rubber bands until the pressure caused the watermelon to completely explode on camera.
And the crazy part is hundreds of thousands of people watched it live.
Yeah, the comment section was so fast, it was just a blur. And you had these boardroom executives across the world looking at those engagement numbers and essentially concluding, stop writing complex geopolitical analysis. We need more exploding fruit.
Right. They mistook a momentary spectacle for a sustainable media diet. And as we know, that original 2010s pivot to video ultimately failed completely.
Catastrophically.
Catastrophically, yes. And the underlying mechanics of that failure are crucial to understand because they totally set the stage for today. First, the publishers became far too compliant to the tech platform.
Specifically Facebook, right?
Specifically Facebook. At the time, Facebook was heavily subsidizing live video. They were artificially boosting it in the newsfeed. So publishers just surrendered their entire distribution strategy to an algorithm they did not control at all.
Desperately chasing whatever metrics the platform told them were important that week.
Exactly. They dismantled their written editorial desk to hire really expensive video production. They completely altered their cost structures based on a promise from a tech giant.
And there was a massive fatal flaw in the data driving the whole thing, wasn't there? The Nielsen data from 2016.
Yes, the 2016 Nielsen data. In 2016, Nielsen reports consistently showed that video was overwhelmingly the preferred form of media consumption. So the tech platform used this data to tell publishers, look at the charts. Nobody wants to read text anymore. They only want video.
So the publishers pivoted.
Right. They pivot. But the crucial missing context in that data, the detail that literally destroyed hundreds of media companies, was where that consumption was actually happening.
Oh, this is the kicker.
In 2016, that massive video consumption was overwhelmingly happening on traditional television screens in the living room. It was broadcast television, cable, early Netflix. It was not happening on mobile web browsers or integrated social.
So these executives were looking at data that said, hey, people love watching Game of Thrones on their 60-inch TV. And their takeaway was, let's force them to watch a 2-minute auto-playing video about political polling on a tiny smartphone screen while they're standing on a crowded bus.
It was an immense misalignment of format and environment.
Just a fundamental misunderstanding of human behavior.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was forcing a lean-back television experience into a lean-forward mobile scrolling environment. And when Facebook eventually changed its algorithm again, prioritizing family and friends over publisher video, poof, the entire economic model for those media companies collapsed overnight. Which brings us to today and the current catalyst for this brand new pivot.
Right. Because this time, it's not a trendy experiment chasing a watermelon.
No, not at all.
No.
It is a matter of absolute, literal survival because traditional websites have completely collapsed. And the primary culprit driving that collapse is Google's AI snippets.
Let's break down how this actually works, because this is where the internet fundamentally broke for legacy media. For years, the lifeblood of these companies was search traffic.
Yeah, that was the entire model.
You ask Google a question, say, what time does the Super Bowl start? Google gives you a list of blue links to articles. You click the link to a sports website, the website loads, see their banner ads, their pop-ups, their autoplay video players.
Which are super annoying, by the way.
So annoying. But they make a fraction of a cent in ad revenue. But Google completely changed the game. They shifted from being a directory to being an answer.
And that technological shift from search as a directory to search as an answer engine is basically the extinction level event for the traditional publisher website.
Yeah, the asteroid hitting the dinosaurs.
Exactly. With the integration of large language models and AI snippets, Google's bots crawl the publisher's article.
Yeah.
They extract the specific answer to your question, and they serve it to you directly at the very top of the search results page.
You get the answer before you even have to scroll, so you never actually click. You never go to the website. The publisher gets absolutely zero traffic.
The term for this in the industry is a zero-click search, and the metrics are devastating. The search engine intercepts and retains all the traffic.
So the publisher pays the reporters, does the expensive journalistic work, verifies the facts, publishes the piece.
And the tech platform reaps all the engagement and keeps the user on their own interface. It completely bypasses the ad load of the publisher's site. It has thoroughly destroyed the economic model of the traditional written web.
Which forces them to flee. I mean, they can't survive on their own domains anymore. But if I'm looking at the difference between the 2010s technological landscape and today's landscape, I have a major question here.
Sure. What is it?
If the 2010s pivot to video was like jumping out of an airplane while still knitting the parachute, aren't they just doing the exact same thing now? I mean, think of it like a mall anchor. Legacy media used to be the mall. You went directly to their domain. Now they are begging to be a tenant in Google's digital mall, paying exorbitant rent in the form of ad revenue splits just for foot traffic.
Right.
They are fleeing Google's AI snippets, which are starving their website by running directly to, which is literally owned by, aren't they just handing over their compliance to a different arm of the exact?
You've hit on the ultimate painful irony of this entire migration. They are fleeing the predator by running directly into the predator's other cave.
It's madness.
They are completely at the mercy of Alphabet Inc. But the reason they feel this is their only viable option, the reason they are willing to accept those draconian terms is because the technological landscape has evolved. 2026 isn't 2015.
Right.
The definition of television has fundamentally changed.
Is that because all video can be consumed on a living room screen now? I can open the YouTube app directly on my smart TV or my Roku.
Precisely. You sit on your couch, you grab your remote, you turn on your massive television, and you are just as likely to pull up a YouTube creator's channel as you are to watch ABC, NBC, or HBO.
Maybe even more likely.
In many demographics, definitely more like. YouTube dominates living room TV viewership now. So the hardware problem that caused the 2010s pivot to fail the lack of living room integration that has been solved. YouTube is no longer just a website you visit on your laptop. YouTube is television.
So the legacy media executives look at this and say, okay, the screen problem is fixed, the audience is back on the couch, we can just be TV again, but instead of broadcasting over the airwaves, we broadcast over YouTube.
That's the logic, yeah.
But they aren't just stepping onto a neutral transmission wire. They are stepping into a platform that has a very deeply entrenched culture, a complex history, and its own algorithmic rule, which brings us to a massive systemic shift in how YouTube itself operates.
A huge shift.
To accommodate these massive corporate neighbors, YouTube is undergoing a radical corporatization. We are moving away from the democratized, user-generated platform of the past to something that looks astonishingly like old-school Hollywood.
To truly grasp the magnitude of this corporatization, we have to contrast it with what YouTube used to be. In the commentary we are analyzing, this area is referred to as pure YouTube.
I genuinely miss pure YouTube. It was chaos, but it was authentic chaos.
It really was. It was an ecosystem built entirely without financial incentive. People were uploading incredibly low-resolution clips of their cats, strange, deeply personal daily vlog, video game highlight reels, purely for the novelty of sharing digital video globally.
Right. There was no monetization program. There were no brand deals. You did it because you had a webcam and an internet.
But then the money arrived, and we can trace the exact moment this pure ecosystem started to permanently shift. The catalyst for the modern hyper-capitalist era of the platform points directly to one specific figure.
Mr. Beast.
Mr. Beast. His massive, unprecedented financial success is essentially described in the source as the death certificate of old YouTube.
Wow, the death certificate. That's strong.
It is a profound inflection. Jimmy Donaldson, Mr. Beast, didn't just make popular video. He inadvertently drafted the master blueprint that showed massive corporate entities exactly how much capital could be extracted from the platform.
He gamified the whole system.
He gamified retention metric. He proved that a single independent creator operating with multi-million-dollar budgets, massive logistical operations, and high-stakes games could generate revenue and viewership numbers that completely dwarfed traditional television networks.
Yeah.
He isn't just succeeding in a vacuum. His content is directly pulling viewers away from traditional primetime network shows on ABC or CBS.
So the legacy networks are sitting in their boardrooms looking at this 20-something guy giving away private islands or, recreating massive game shows with literal millions of dollars in prize money. And the light bulb goes off.
Exactly.
And they realize, wait a minute, the audience isn't just watching low-res cat videos anymore. They are watching incredibly high-production entertainment, and the massive advertising dollars are following them.
And YouTube's leadership is not just passively observing this shift. They are aggressively engineering. YouTube's CEO, Neil Mohan, is executing a very specific strategy. He is actively courting Hollywood.
Really bringing them into the fold.
Yes. He is signing massive distribution and partnership deals with legacy studios. The underlying claim in the commentary is that YouTube is explicitly positioning itself to be a direct Netflix competitor.
Interesting.
They want to be the premium destination for high-end living room entertainment, regardless of what their public relations team might claim about, empowering everyday creators.
And you can see the actual mechanics of this strategy playing out on the platform right now. This is where the beautiful concept of a democratized level playing field starts to rapidly crumble. We are seeing the rise of a pay-to-play mechanism that is fundamentally altering the YouTube algorithm.
It's entirely changing the game.
Legacy media companies, desperate for that viewership, are using their massive traditional advertising budgets to essentially grease YouTube's palms.
We really need to unpack the concept of algorithmic privilege because it is the hidden engine of this entire migration. In a pure algorithmic system, content surfaces based on merit. It's a meritocracy of attention.
Right.
The algorithm looks at engagement, watch time, click-through rates on thumbnails, and user satisfaction survey. If a video connects with an audience, it spreads organic. But when massive legacy media budgets enter the fray, the platform economics completely change.
The algorithm stops looking just for what is genuinely popular and starts looking for who is paying the hosting.
It shifts the competitive landscape from pure merit to sheer capital. The legacy networks are buying what we can call artificial velocity.
Artificial velocity, I like that term.
Think of it like putting a massive, expensive rocket booster on a bicycle. The algorithm isn't pushing the content to millions of homepages because it's a great ride that everyone loves. It is moving fast entirely because someone paid millions of dollars for the fuel. The engagement is bought, not earned.
And the commentary provides a very specific and frankly bizarre example of this artificial velocity in action. They talk about John Oliver's show, Last Week Tonight, which is a premium HBO property.
Right.
For a period of several weeks, users were noticing that clips of John Oliver were mysteriously autoplaying after entirely unrelated videos from small, independent creators.
That was so jarring for viewers.
You would be watching a highly niche 30-minute video essay about the history of comic books, or like a review of an obscure video game. The video would end, and boom, the algorithm autoplays a highly produced, mainstream HBO political comedy.
There is zero natural audience crossover there. The algorithmic jump from an indie comic book review to premium cable political satire makes absolutely no sense from a user preference standpoint.
None at all.
It is forced distribution. HBO is essentially buying the autoplay slot, masquerading an advertisement as an organic content recommendation.
And it goes even further than just buying ad space. It gets into actual legislative pressure.
Yeah, this part is wild.
The commentary brings up the BBC in the United Kingdom as a prime example. The BBC isn't just trying to buy ads. They are trying to use actual UK government broadcasting laws to force their content to surface above independent creator content on the platform.
Right.
They are trying to legally mandate algorithmic priority.
They are attempting to legislate relevance. Now, you want a legal guarantee that a state-funded broadcaster must be recommended to a user before an independent creator in their basement making a video essay on the exact same topic.
It's unbelievable.
It is the ultimate exercise of legacy power trying to bend digital architecture to its will.
That is wild. Trying to use the literal law to stay relevant on a digital platform. But here's where it gets really interesting. Let's look at the central paradox of this entire thing. These legacy networks, these massive Hollywood studios and historic news organizations, they already had billions of dollars. They had massive marketing departments. They had captive audiences for decades. If sheer money, high production value, and government influence were all it took to win the modern media land, why are they losing to a guy in his basement with a microphone in the first place? Why did the audience actively leave the billion-dollar studio broadcast to go watch the vlog?
That is the essential existential question at the heart of this entire shift. And it forces us to pivot from the economics of the platform to the psychology of the audience.
Right.
The legacy networks are treating their decline purely as a distribution problem. Their fundamental diagnosis is people are on their phone, they're smart TVs, so we just need to put our broadcast content on their phones and smart TVs.
Just change the screen and we're good.
Exactly. They think changing the delivery mechanism solves the problem. But the commentary argues something much deeper and much more fatal.
They drop what is easily the most biting critique in the entire. They say simply, if they wanted to watch you, they would have watched.
It is a devastating observation because it strikes at the very core of the audience's intent. The argument here is that audiences didn't just leave traditional media because they prefer the YouTube video player format over their cable box.
Wasn't about the buttons.
No, they didn't leave for technological convenience. They left because they wanted different voices. They wanted different perspectives. They sought out what they perceived as untethered, raw honesty, completely independent of corporate advertisers, network boardrooms, or government pressure.
They wanted to feel a real parasocial connection with a human being, not be talked down to by a heavily focused grouped, sanitized broadcast.
Exactly.
Now, we have to navigate a very specific point the commentary makes here regarding the political landscape. And just to be absolutely clear, we are presenting this strictly as the viewpoint of the source material to understand the dynamic they're describing without endorsing the political framing either way.
Right, just reporting what the source says.
Right. The commentary claims that during recent election cycles, audiences actively chose to tune in to independent YouTubers and podcasters over mainstream news media because, in their estimation, the independent creators were being more honest and less filtered about the events unfolding.
Analyzing that strictly from a media theory perspective, what we're looking at is the currency of trust. In the digital age, trust is the only metric that actually converts into long-term loyalty.
It's all about trust.
The commentary is positing that the mainstream media has thoroughly exhausted its reserves of trust, while independent creators have steadily built theirs up through direct, unfiltered engagement. It is a zero-sum game of attention.
Meaning you can only watch one thing at a time.
Exactly. The commentary points out that when a viewer chooses to stream a long-form interview with Megyn Kelly on YouTube, that hour of attention comes at the direct, measurable expense of a legacy network like Fox News. When someone chooses to spend their Saturday morning watching the Bon Appetit channel or, an indie cooking vlog on YouTube, it comes at the direct expense of the Food Network.
The audience is making an active, conscious choice to substitute the highly polished legacy product for the slightly rougher, but perceived as more authentic independent product.
And this is where the symptom versus disease framework becomes incredibly clear.
I love
the legacy media executives sitting in their boardrooms looking at plummeting Nielsen rates diagnose their decline as a symptom of bad distribution. They treat the symptom by moving to YouTube. But the commentary argues that the decline is actually a profound systemic trust and content problem.
That is the disease.
That is the disease. And if you have the disease of a completely eroded audience trust deficit, simply changing the venue from a Comcast cable channel to a YouTube does absolutely nothing to cure these.
Okay, I hear that analysis, but I really want to push back on the commentary's absolute certainty.
Go for it.
They seem entirely convinced that even if legacy media forces their way into the YouTube algorithms, even if they spend hundreds of millions to grease the palms and buy every autoplay slot, people still won't watch them because the trust is fundamentally gone. But is that true in practice?
That's a fair question.
I look at how most people consume media, and doesn't convenience eventually win out for a massive population? I mean, if a heavily funded CNN video autoplays crystal clear, high definition right after the video I just finished, and it looks slick and professional, don't a lot of people just leave it on?
Sure.
Doesn't the sheer friction of having to find the remote and click away guarantee these networks at least a sustainable baseline of viewership?
It is a crucial challenge to the premise. Inertia is an undeniably powerful force in media consumption. We know that if a video is playing on the screen, a certain percentage of the audience will simply let it play out of pure passivity.
Right, they're just washing dishes, whatever.
Exactly. However, the counter-argument and the reality of digital economics is that passive, accidental viewership does not create a sustainable business model in 2026.
Because it's low-quality engagement.
Yes. You cannot build a devoted recurring subscriber base, you cannot sell premium direct-to-consumer sponsorship, and you cannot cultivate a loyal community based on people who are simply too lazy to hit the skip button.
That makes total sense.
You need active, engaged intent. An advertiser paying top dollar for a podcast read knows the audience trusts the host. An advertiser buying an autoplay slot knows most of the audience is probably asleep on the couch.
Which brings us directly to the panic, because that exact point, the terrifying realization that even if they buy their way onto the platform, the audience might actively reject them, is exactly what is keeping media executives.
Oh, absolutely.
And the commentary takes us right into the chaotic, sweating boardrooms of today's legacy networks to see how this existential panic is manifesting in real time.
It is manifesting in some fascinating and occasionally embarrassing strategic flail.
Yeah.
Embarrassing is the word.
The analysis starts by looking at the New York Times. They reference a highly revealing interview with their executive editor, Joe Kahn, on Peter Kafka's podcast. Kahn did not frame the Times' rush into digital video and podcasting as some fun experimental new project.
He wasn't casual about it at all.
He framed it as a desperate race against time. He described the required shift to video and audio as a transformation, as massive and fundamental as the institution's historical shift from print newspapers to the digital web.
They are viewing it as an existential hurdle. If they do not clear it, the institution dies.
Exactly. Then the commentary shifts to the broadcast news network themselves. They look at MS Now, MSN Digital's streaming arm, and how they are currently inking deals to host produced by third-party creators, specifically bringing up Crooked. The commentary expresses profound skepticism about the viability of this strategy, questioning whether the broader digital audience will inherently trust a partnership with a political media literally named Crooked, which, again, we're just reporting what the source says here.
Right. But that skepticism directly reflects the source's ongoing thesis about the fundamental crisis of trust in political political media.
What is most revealing about that MSNBC strategy is the admission of defeat embedded within it.
Completely.
You have a legacy network outsourcing its digital YouTube presence to a digital-first third party. They are explicitly admitting that they do not know how to speak the cultural language of the platform. They lack the institutional knowledge to build a YouTube channel organically, so they're trying to buy a
But the most vivid, visceral picture of this internal boardroom dread comes from CNN. The commentary details the sheer existential panic permeating the halls of that network.
It sounds so stressful over there.
It really does. They quote CNN CEO, Mark Thompson, admitting directly to his staff that the tension in the network over the looming Paramount takeover, the shifting landscape, and their declining relevance is completely inescapable.
He gave a startlingly candid quote.
He did. He said he goes home at night, tries to relax, and he can still feel the tension from the newsroom because he is in the room. He literally carries the dread of institutional irrelevance home with him.
It is a remarkably stark admission of vulnerability from the absolute top of a global media empire. And you see that internal panic directly translate into their bizarre strategic experiments on screen.
Oh, the experiments.
The commentary details a specific, highly criticized, and ultimately failed attempt by CNN to mimic the YouTube creator format.
This is so...
They tried to create these intimate podcast-style shows where their highly paid, traditionally stiff news anchors sat in their corporate office, surrounded by carefully placed, seemingly random treats and books on their desks.
Trying to simulate the messy, authentic look and feel of a basement YouTuber.
The commentary found it completely laughable, and looking at it from the outside, it's so easy to see why it failed so spectacularly.
It is the textbook definition of forced authentic.
Forced authentic.
This is a crucial psychological element of modern digital media. Viewers who have grown up on platforms like YouTube and Twitch have spent a decade developing a highly tuned, incredibly sensitive radar for authenticity.
They know when they're being played.
Exactly. They know exactly what a genuine, messy, spontaneous environment looks like. They know what it sounds like when someone is speaking off the cuff versus reading a prompter. When a highly polished network, utilizing professional lighting directors, set designers, and makeup artists, tries to artificially recreate the messy desk, basement webcam aesthetic, it feels inherently jarring.
It falls right into an uncanny valley of media production.
It feels manipulative to the viewer because it is an active manipulation.
It's the corporate equivalent of a middle-aged parent trying to use teenager slang at the dinner table.
How do you do, fellow kids?
Exactly. It doesn't make you look cool. It just highlights the massive generational divide and makes everyone uncomfortable. But this panic isn't just limited to legacy broadcast. It is deeply infecting the old guard of social too. The commentary draws a brilliant contrast between CNN's struggles and Facebook's utterly chaotic attempts to capture the same video engagement.
Yes, the MySpacification of Facebook.
I love that term.
It is a fascinating parallel. The commentary describes how Facebook, terrified of losing attention to TikTok and YouTube Short, quietly altered its entire core algorithm. If you want your post to be seen on Facebook today, even by your own actual friends or family members who follow you, you are basically forced to post video, specifically their short-form reels.
Right.
And even then, your organic reach is throttled, turning it into a pay-to-play environment just to reach your own network.
The description of Facebook's current state is absolutely brutal in the source text. They call it MySpace all over again. They describe the platform as a raw, unfiltered, chaotic stream of thought filled with incredibly strange, heavily AI-generated cooking videos, bizarre engagement bait experiments, and random clips from movies.
It's a mess.
They say the platform is acting like 15 completely different apps duct taped together, making it almost entirely unusable for its original purpose of connecting with no.
And that profound degradation of the user experience is the direct result of injecting AI and algorithmic desperation into a platform that no longer has a clear core identity.
Facebook doesn't know what it is anymore.
Exactly. Facebook is trying to be TikTok's short-form feed, YouTube's long-form player, and a local neighborhood bulletin board all at the exact same time. The result is a Frankenstein application. It's a chaotic user experience where they are optimizing solely for instantaneous algorithm retention,
Destroying the underlying social graph.
Yes, and ultimately, the promised audience never actually arrives because the trust in the platform is gone.
So if we pull back and look at the whole board, we have CNN executives trying to look like guys in a basement, while the actual guys in the basement are taking their massive YouTube ad revenue and trying to build pristine multi-camera studios that look like CNN.
It's hilarious when you put it like that.
Meanwhile, Facebook is turning into a duct-taped Frankenstein app, desperately shoving AI videos. Are we just witnessing a bizarre industry-wide identity crisis across the entire media spectrum?
That is precisely the dynamic. It is an absolute structural identity crisis. And historically, when massive industries enter times of profound identity crisis and technological disruption, the legacy organizations don't usually look for a new abstract philosophy. They look for a singular figure.
Right, a savior.
They look for a human blueprint, an avatar who seems to have successfully navigated the chaos and figured out the new math.
Which brings us to perhaps the most disruptive figure in this entire narrative. The commentary introduces journalist Barry Weiss as the living, breathing embodiment of this new media-to-legacy clash.
Barry Weiss represents the ultimate synthesis of everything we've been unpacking today. The commentary details her professional trajectory, and it serves as the exact blueprint that legacy media is currently trying to reverse engineer.
Let's trace that trajectory because it is wild and incredibly revealing. According to the commentary, she started her career at the New York Times, the absolute undisputed pinnacle of traditional legacy print media.
Right.
The commentary notes that she eventually left the Times, claiming she felt the organization was pushing too far left politically. And the source also notes the inherent irony of this tension given her background as a gay Jewish woman.
Right. Again, just reporting the commentary's perspective here.
Exact. But regardless of the specific internal political mechanics of her departure, the core action that matters here is that she actively chose to exit the traditional press structure.
She left the safety of the legacy institution and went completely independent. She moved to Substack, a newsletter platform. She started her own independent podcast. She built her own digital media company, The Free Press, entirely from the ground up. And she did this by leveraging direct one-to-one audience trust rather than relying on the institutional authority of a legacy masthead.
And she was phenomenally successful at it. She built a massive, highly dedicated, and highly monetized audience. But here's the crazy part.
What's that?
The part that proves the commentary's overarching point. She didn't just stay out in the independent wilderness. The legacy system saw her success and came crawling back to her. Paramount recently brought her in.
This is the ultimate realization by legacy media that they cannot simply beat the independent creators at their own game.
If you can't beat them, join them.
Or buy them. They cannot out-algorithm them, and as we saw with CNN, they cannot simply copy their messy desk. So the only remaining option, they have to hire them.
Right.
They have to bring the digital disruptor inside the institutional walls to try and reverse engineer their success from the inside out. They are hoping her digital credibility will magically transfer to their broadcast logo.
But you can't just drop a digital grenade into a traditional 70-year-old boardroom and expect the building to stay intact.
No, absolutely.
The commentary describes the resulting situation inside CBS News as absolute ongoing chaos. She is reportedly in there shaking things up violently, pushing a mandate for short-form YouTube and fast-paced podcast-style content. And she's actively firing.
Yeah, heads are rolling.
The commentary describes a massive internal civil war between the old guard, the traditional unionized broadcast journalists who do not respect her lack of traditional broadcast experience or her digital methods, and the new media man.
It's an ideological and methodological civil war within the news. You have traditional journalism standard, which prioritize meticulous vetting and a measured, objective tone, violently colliding with digital engagement metrics, which prioritize speed, personality, and algorithmic retention.
Those two things do not.
They really don't. And the ripples of this clash are spreading across the industry. The commentary notes pervasive rumors that, given her perceived success at blowing up the stagnant CBS model, she might be brought in to take charge of CNN next, to execute the exact same kind of radical, painful transformation.
So the outside disruptor becomes the ultimate inside kingmaker. And this leads to the commentary's ultimate sweeping prediction for the future of media. They argue that broadcast networks, as we have understood them for the past century, will eventually cease to exist entirely.
It is a profound and inevitable implication. The commentary is predicting that these massive legacy entities, NBC, CBS, ABC, will completely abandon traditional broadcast channels.
Like turn off the towers.
Literally turn them off. The physical transmission of signals over terrestrial airwaves, or even through dedicated bundled cable television packages, will become entirely obsolete.
Instead, they will simply become news content product. They will be massive, well-funded studios that just upload their daily output directly or package it as a dedicated streaming app on a Roku device or an Apple TV. The physical broadcast tower is literally replaced by the digital upload button.
Think about the monumental shift in power that implies.
Yeah.
A major network abandoning broadcast entirely mean they're explicitly conceding that they are no longer the platform.
They're just a tenant.
Exactly. They no longer control the distribution pipes. They are merely a channel existing within a much larger, much more powerful tech platforms ecosystem. They're admitting that Alphabet or Amazon or Apple owns the digital real estate, and the legacy networks are just renting a small storefront in their mall.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? If traditional media, with all its rich history, its massive budgets, and its remaining shreds of just throws in the towel and becomes another square tile on your Roku screen or another thumbnail on your YouTube, have we actually changed anything about media consumption? Or did we just invent cable TV 2.0 where Google is the new Comcast and you're still paying with your attention?
That is the perfect question to bring us to our final sentence, because we have to distill what this rapid, chaotic evolution actually means for your daily media diet.
Exact. What is the takeaway?
What we've established from dissecting this commentary is a stark picture of an industry in full panicked retreat. Legacy media is fleeing a dying web ecosystem, starved of traffic by AI search snippets, to try and colonize the fertile ground of YouTube and digital video.
And they're bringing their massive corporate checkbooks with them. They are using institutional capital to buy algorithmic space, to grease the palms of the platforms, to ensure their slick, highly produced content stays visible above the independent creator.
And this is the crucial, potentially fatal caveat the commentary insists upon. They're doing all of this while battling an inherent, perhaps terminal, lack of audience trust.
Right.
And they are fighting these internal structural civil wars between the old guard of broadcast journalism and the new ruthless mandate of digital engagement. They are trying to build the airplane while they are actively crashing it into the ground.
So to you listening right now, the next time you're scrolling YouTube at 11 p.m. and a strangely slick, highly produced, unrelated news clip suddenly autoplays right after a video essay you actually chose to watch.
Or the next time you see a legacy news anchor trying to look super casual in an office with a strategically messy bookshelf.
You now know exactly what you are looking at. You are not seeing a random glitch or a fun new format. You are seeing the boardroom panic.
You are seeing the multi-million-dollar ad buys.
Yes, and the existential dread manifesting right on your screen. You are watching the annoying neighbor unpack their boxes in your digital backyard.
And that reality leaves us with one final, deeply provocative thought to consider. A question that builds on the fundamental mechanics we've discussed today. We've seen how the internet offered an escape, a wild frontier for counterculture, unfiltered voices, and independent thought.
Yeah.
And we've seen how legacy media and corporate money inevitably follow the audience to colonize, pave over, and monetize that frontier.
The inevitable corporatization of the escape route.
Precisely. So if YouTube successfully absorbs all of Hollywood and swallows all of legacy news and becomes the ultimate, heavily monetized, inescapable mainstream platform, where does the actual counterculture go?
That is the million-dollar question.
Where does the new guy in the basement migrate to when the basement is bought by a conglomerate? If the internet always requires a wild, unpolished frontier for true innovation and audience trust to thrive, what is the next platform that will rise up to disrupt the very digital disruptors we talk about today?
I covered a massive